Yo, what up, everybody? It's your boy, the Kryptonian Saiyan here, bringing you a review for One Piece Chapter 56. Now, this chapter, I liked it for really Sanji's backstory and just to see how he and Zeff, I think that's how you say it. I caught one of you guys in the comment section. You told me this is how you pronounce it. Thanks for catching that. Once again, I apologize. I pre-recorded 8 or 9 videos back to back, so I apologize for that. But getting right into this though, man. So we get his backstory and we get to see how he met Zeff, and it explains a little bit. I feel like in this backstory, like the flashback is going to continue over into the next chapter, which is always nice. I really enjoy, long, not so much long drawn out backstories, but as long as it adds to the character development, I don't mind how long we have to go through in order to get it. Just as long as the payoff is worth it. And this is the thing. I really feel like Oda's backstory for this, for what he's going to do with Sanji, I get the feeling that it's going to make me care more for his character the same way it did with Usopp when we got the brief flashback where we found out his mother was sick. So in Sanji's flashback, we find out that he was on a ship called, I believe, the Orbit, and he was an apprentice cook. And I thought that the parallel was really nice because, once again, just like with Usopp, we see a parallel between Luffy and Sanji, because Sanji was a chore boy. And when Sanji's first introduced, like as in canonically, because so far in terms of the canon, Sanji is first introduced as a 9-year-old because that's when this flashback takes place. So the first time we see Sanji and Luffy interacting is when I believe he becomes the chore boy, is about to become the chore boy. And in Sanji's flashback, he's a chore boy. So this is really nice right here. Like I love what Oda did right here. It was real subtle, but it was nice. And just to see Sanji as a kid, that was pretty damn awesome, because when you compare his face to now to back then, he looks so excited. And I know a lot of it's because he's a 9-year-old kid talking about seeing the all blue sea, and at the same time, just that innocence on his face, that is beautiful right there, man. Like, normally when it comes to drawing the faces, I'm more of a fan of Hiro Mashima. Those of you who don't know, I review Fairy Tail from chapter 1 as well. And when it comes to drawing faces, I love what Hiro does because he often plays with shading and he captures the emotions really well. Whereas with One Piece, I feel like One Piece is a better plot, has better pacing, but that's another discussion for another video. Now, with that being said, just that face right there, that was beautiful. Because again, when you compare Sanji to then to now, let me, like right here, when you go back to the last chapter, Sanji has that arrogance to him, but you can tell he's seen some stuff. Like that face is completely different. There's an edge to it. And I really feel like because he's 19, and I might be reading a little too deep into this, but when you get to a certain age, and for me, it was around, let's like 18, 19. And when you get around that age, there's a shift. That childhood innocence, that boyhood charm, whatever you want to call it, it starts to fade away. And part of it's because you're in the real world and you're experiencing things, but stuff will happen in your personal life, or at least for me it did, that causes you to look at things a little differently. And you see it with Sanji. And when you compare him to Zoro or Luffy, he has, there's something happened in his past to where he has that look, because he has the look of somebody that has a tragic past. I thought that it was going to be Zoro, but because of the way Zoro's eyes are drawn towards the middle, but I'm not too sure. I think it's going to be Sanji. So anyway, man, getting into the earlier part of this chapter, what I thought was really, really cool was the fact that, one, Pearl was not finished, okay? Because Pearl does something that I thought was pretty damn interesting, and what I'm referring to is how he takes out Sanji. Because right here, You see him, he's got the shield. Sanji doesn't know what's about to happen, and he brings it down. Look where he brings it down, though. At first, it looks like it might have been the upper part of the chin, but he hits the sides of the neck. And that right there, for those of you who are unaware, if you can hit somebody in their neck right there, that is, you can do some major damage. Like the neck, this part of your neck is right there with hitting somebody in the spine, like that upper part here, you can really fuck somebody up. So just seeing that and seeing how Oda incorporated some real life physics into this, that was really cool. And speaking of shadings and close ups, in the very beginning, there's like a break before the chapter, and I just love the difference in shading right here. And again, this is something I expect to see in Fairy Tail, not One Piece, but just the shading. I mean, this is great. It adds to the severity of the situation. This is actually my favorite scene, where you have Luffy getting ready to go to battle, and you have the flames kind of going, and you have that close up of Sanji's face. And once again, like I've pointed out in my Fairy Tail reviews, you see what looks like the right eye, but we're getting the left side of his face on this panel. And usually when authors use something to the left, it's because they're looking at their past. And sure enough, when we get this chapter, we get Sanji's backstory. But just how he has Zeff, and he's broke the leg, if you look. So I was right, he did break part of his leg off to keep him from standing. He's got that gun to his head. This is good. This is good. And it goes back to something that I remember, I believe it was Shanks in the very first chapter, who says if you're going to use a gun, if you pull a gun, you better be prepared to use it. And I think that with Gin, I think at some point he is going to have a change of heart, because if you look at the positioning, Sanji is way too close to him, because when Pearl knocks his ass back, if you look, Sanji is right there. And the other thing about this is even though he is right next to him, let me see if I can find the page here. Right here. If you'll look, it looks like the guns moved further away from his head, because if you look at it, it's not directly behind his head. And I think that symbolizes that Gin might have had some type of conscious break, or who knows, it might have been the gun just moving because of all the commotion that's going on, because Don Krieg did say something earlier about taking them out. So that might be it. And obviously Sanji got pummeled by Pearl with the tarnished silver attacks. I mean, this is interesting, but just the position of the gun, that's something that I think is going to come back to bite him. But those are just my thoughts, guys. I know I didn't give you a chapter question in the last review, and for this one, I really don't have one, but I will say this. I want to know what you guys think about what we've seen so far about Sanji's relationship with Zeff, because he gets brought right back in this chapter, and this is what I thought was interesting. Look at his design. You can tell that he's in a different space back then from where he is now. So just tell me what you guys thought, just about their relationship, because you hear Zeff calling him eggplant and all this other stuff. Like, you can tell that there's a little bit of fondness there. But those are just my thoughts, guys. If you liked anything I had to say, make sure you comment, rate, subscribe, and share. As always, I'll greatly appreciate it. But that's it.
「灰色の瞳